Hi, I'm Megan. Welcome to today's live reading of Her Sapphire Blade by Sarah Biglow, presented by Itsy Bitsy Book Bits. Join me. Chapter 1. Rain had driven more people than usual into the warmth and ambiance of the witching hour, London's go-to bar for magic practitioners and the curious out-of-towners drawn in by the name. Those of us with powers didn't have to hide who we were here. Well, at least not entirely. Big shows of power were frowned upon by the owners. Wards were in place to keep any possible destruction to a minimum. Just enough was allowed to make the tourists think we were just an act to draw them in and relinquish their money. The usual dull roar of patrons enjoying a drink out with friends was amplified tenfold tonight. The cacophony in my head throb. The cacophony made my head throb as I stood behind the bar trying to keep track of incoming orders. Every available inch of space at the bar was occupied, even though there wasn't enough stools to accommodate the number of people crammed in. Oi, Morgan, get your head out of your arse. I asked for those pints 5 minutes ago, Dean shouted at me, snapping his fingers in my face. I looked at the server long enough to register what he wanted and pivoted, filling 2 beer glasses and passed them over. Sorry, I muttered, but he couldn't hear me over the noise. Tending bar in London was not where I thought I'd be as I approached 30. Yep, here I was, busting my ass for tips and still living at home with my aunt. I'd much prefer to live on my own. However, Aunt Nim's health was on the decline, and there was no way we could afford to hire someone to care for her full time. The front door opened, and a gust of damp air blew through, sending shivers down my spine. Something just didn't sit right with me today. I could write off the ache in my temple to the weather, but this odd sense of dread had followed me all damn day. Something bad was coming, and I couldn't see what it was. Not that I could do a damn thing about it, even if I could see it coming. I might technically be a witch. I could feel the power in the world around me, but I was practically useless otherwise. I understood the general mechanics. Magic existed everywhere. Magic was basically its own natural force. It couldn't truly be destroyed, just transferred and remolded into some other purpose. There wasn't a there wasn't any of that good or evil bullshit. It was pure. Only the way a person shaped it made it good or bad. The specific intent was all that mattered. At least that's how it was meant to work for everyone else. For me, nothing I had ever tried to do went the way I wanted. Even simple things like boiling a kettle for tea goes pear-shaped. Most days, I might as well just pretend I'm mundane like the rest of the world. Get out of your own head, Morgan. Wallowing wasn't going to get people their drinks or give me any tips. Forcing a smile, I tucked my shirt into place to best show off my modest cleavage and leaned on the bar. Slowly, the mob at the bar had thinned as people found tables further into the establishment. The rain appeared to be letting up as the clock ticked past 11. I didn't realize until there were only 10 people at the bar that I had been holding my breath. I exhaled and the tension eased between my shoulder blades. So, anything decent to drink in this place? A familiar voice asked from my left. I pivoted to find my best friend, Jillian Sellers, leaning on the opposite side of the bar. She wore her hair with iridescent she wore her hair with the iridescence of an oil slick pulled up into a knot at the back of her head, which only accentuated the sharp contours of her face. Even in the dim light around us, her sapphire blue eyes sparkled brightly. She, like me, was a witch. However, unlike me, she could do some decent shit. It explained how her hair looked perfect right after coming inside from a rainstorm, though she'd never hold it over me or she thought she was better than me. You know the menu better than I do, I teased as I moved to stand across from her, but we're running a bit low on most things. That's all right. I wasn't that interested in drinking. I only came to steal the bartender. I don't get off shift until 2, I reminded her. She let out an annoyed huff. I can't believe they made you work today. Come on, Jules. We're not kids anymore. We're grown adults who can manage to work on their birthday without it being the end of the world, I quipped. But you only turned 30 once, she whined. I knew that tone. It was her, your practicality is ruining my carefully constructed plans, voice. Since we were teenagers, Julianne had treated my birthday like some exalted holiday. Get Dean to cover. We're going out, Julianne insisted. I snorted. You really think Dickwad Dean is going to do anything for me? She flashed me a mischievous grin. No, he could be persuaded. Absolutely not. You know that sort of magic won't fly here. Look, how about this? I'll call Tasha and see if she can come in at midnight. Deal? Fine. She gave an exaggerated eye roll and turned to lean her back against the edge of the bar. While you're at it, I'll take a bourbon. I made the drink and slid it over to her on a napkin before scanning the rest of the patrons loitering by the bar. None of them looked like they needed me, so I ducked out the back into the small passageway between the bar and the kitchen. I pulled my phone from my pocket and dialed Tasha's number. It rang 5 times before going to voicemail. I didn't bother with a message. Julian could wait until I got off work. I needed the money more than we needed a girls' night to celebrate another year of my existence on this earth. That sense of foreboding washed over me as I hurried along the passage and out back behind the bar. I stayed under the meager awning to keep dry as I sucked in the muggy summer air. Rain still drizzled around me. A few drops splashed down on my skin. I felt almost icy, sending shivers dancing up my arm. I focused, pouring all of my energy into summoning my magic. The barest hint of lime tickled my nose as my power sputtered to the surface. Keep me dry. The scent grew stronger for a brief moment, and I stuck out my arm beyond the protection of the awning. Raindrops fell, but didn't hit my arm. They bounced off an invisible shield, sizzling as if they'd hit something hot. It lasted for a few seconds before the magic faded and my arm got wet again. I took a few breaths to compose myself. As I turned to go back inside, I could swear I saw someone across the road watching me. I blinked and they vanished. Maybe I just imagined it. Get a grip, Morgan, I chided and darted back inside, grabbing a towel on the way to dry off my arm and wipe away the humiliation of another failed spell.